Officials, if you don't care the ordinary people, what use are you?
The existence of a country is not to dominate the world, but to let all citizens live with dignity.
From July 29th to August 5th, extreme rainfall occurred in the Beijing-Tianjin Hebei region of China due to Typhoon Doksur. To withstand the torrential rains, the CCP released floodwaters without warning, resulting in over 1 million people being forcibly evacuated. The city of Zhuozhou in Hebei province became a heavily flooded area. Recently, the CCP has been concealing death toll, whitewashing public opinion, and denying the disaster caused by deliberate flooding.
From our upstream Xinzhuang village, they dug and breached the embankment to release floodwaters. It's said that the municipal government designated our area for flood discharge. I heard our leaders say it was a natural flood peak, then why not let it flow naturally? Why did they breach the embankment?
This is a concern for everyone. There's a misunderstanding here. I've asked comrades from the Water Resources Bureau. Upstream, there are no reservoirs. This time we experienced heavy rainfall, so the water came down along the river. In our history, this area was designated for flood storage, so we really had no choice.
The truth is, CCP officials sacrificed multiple areas, including Zhuozhou, in order to protect the Xiong'an area, the CCP's foremost prestige project. On August 1st, Li Guiying, the deputy commander of the National Flood Control Headquarters and the Minister of Water Resources, explicitly stated in a special meeting that the absolute safety of the Xiong'an area and Beijing Daxing Airport must be ensured. Simultaneously, Ni Yifeng, the secretary of the Hebei Provincial Party Committee, openly declared during an inspection of flood control and disaster relief work that they must alleviate flood pressure on Beijing and serve as the capital's moat.
As a high-ranking official, your decision has destroyed the homes of tens of thousands at any cost.
Losses are no less than 1 million yuan.
If Beijing were to be like Tokyo, it should have submerged all the golf courses around the Yongding River. Beijing has been flooded so much, yet many golf courses along its banks are untouched. China's water is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Wherever the CCP wants it to flow, it flows there. Beijing residents can see for themselves that downstream of Lugo Bridge on the Yongding River, there are many golf courses. Those areas are large and have no expensive buildings, and no one lives there. There are similar areas along the Rhine River. When floods come, the areas that get submerged first are the ones designated for flood storage, not where ordinary people live. This is the difference.
Mr. Wang Weiluo, in an interview with Version Times, pointed out that after the CCP took power, it constructed the Guantang Reservoir on the Yongding River with a total capacity of 41.6 million cubic meters, followed by the construction of hundreds of reservoirs, causing the Yongding River to dry up and Beijing to face water shortages. Beijing's water is sourced from the south, costing 5 to 10 yuan per cubic meter to transport, excluding the actual water cost. Hence, water in reservoirs is essentially money, and the CCP is unwilling to let it go to waste. When floods come, the disaster intensifies. After winning the hosting rights for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the CCP modified the Yongding River, narrowing the riverbed, isolating it with plastic sheets, and raising the water level of reservoirs. This left a great hidden danger for the flooding in Mentougou. With an elevation of 34 meters in Zhuozhou, Hebei, and 18 meters in Xiong'an, the CCP decided to divert floodwaters from Lugo Bridge on the Yongding River to Zhuozhou in order to reduce the impact on Xiong'an. This diversion is the main source of the flooding in Zhuozhou. While denying that Beijing released floodwaters, the CCP is simultaneously repeating old tactics in the 3 northeastern provinces, causing more losses for the people.
Residents and vehicles in this area, please immediately evacuate to a safe location. This vehicle is carrying explosives and will detonate here.
This is what was detonated last night, and they're continuing today. Another 2 rows will be detonated today, they're continuing to detonate here.
That night, we sent workers to the dam overnight, didn't sleep the whole night, just to protect the embankment. We were afraid the embankment might collapse, just to ensure the safety of the people's lives. So, we wouldn't blow up our own embankment.
I 100% believe what you said. Let me ask you a question. When the dam was blown up, where were the village government leaders and town government leaders?
We didn't know when it was blown up.
You didn't know? What were you doing? Just tell me, were you drinking? It's done. We've worked in vain these past few days. It's over, it's over. The last breach in Tonghua County is open.
Amid the large floods in Beijing and Hebei, after the CCP recklessly released floodwaters, they announced 33 deaths in Beijing and 29 deaths in Hebei. However, these lies were shattered by videos posted by the public.
This is my uncle's house. He lost his life in this mudslide, and his body hasn't been found yet. Everyone, take a look at this house. Whether it was washed away or not, can this kind of house still be lived in? 14 people disappeared, died. Some bodies haven't been found.
Did you see Dian bowing as he entered the village just now? Each pile of ash represents a person who has died, those that have been found. And the excavator keeps digging. We don't know when the remaining people will be found. Here's another one. See? Each pile of ash represents a relative of Dian's.
At this spot, the excavator dug. Here are my third uncle, third aunt, my sister, and my 2 nephews. A family of 5 from this spot. They've been gone and still haven't been found. This is my third uncle's house. What I'm saying is that each of these relatives, these uncles, aunts, grandparents, they all held me, comforted me, and watched me grow up since I was young. Our family has 5 generations. These are all close relatives. I could fully take legal responsibility for this video.
A video posted by a disaster-stricken individual from Laishui County, Hebei, was quickly deleted by authorities, and the individual was arrested. According to a witness, more than 20 bodies from the village are still in the cowshed. It is estimated that there are 402 administrative villages in Zhuozhou. If 2/3 of them were flooded, around 260 villages would be affected. If each village lost 20 to 30 lives on average, the death toll in Zhuozhou would be between 5,200 and 7,800. A native of Zhuozhou in other places said, "There are too many unspeakable inside stories, and it is uncomfortable to listen to." He disclosed the following inside information. His classmate, who was a reporter at Zhuozhou TV station, said after the flood discharge that he couldn't do it anymore. Because of the serious epidemic situation, the leader also asked to report 0 missing and 0 death, but in fact, when his classmate participated in the rescue, when he opened the door, he saw corpses floating on the water. A resident of Zhuozhou revealed that the authorities demanded that rescue teams from over 20 provinces and municipalities that had arrived in Zhuozhou for assistance withdraw on August 3rd. This was done to prevent disclosure of the death toll. Another villager publicly lamented that he was the only survivor from his village, which typically had over 500 residents. This is where the secrecy lies. Videos show that some areas in Hebei are still submerged. The CCP claims that the floodwaters in Zhuozhou will take a month to recede. Those fortunate enough to survive now return to their ravaged homes, seeing shattered tiles, mud everywhere, and their surviving furniture skewed. The scenes of devastation make them feel as if they have traveled back half a century overnight.
This is the aftermath of the rain. It's so terrifying. Look at this mud. It's like the heavens and earth have split apart. It's over. Completely over. The wheat on 7.5 acres of land has been soaked by the floodwaters. The corn on 7.5 acres has been leveled, all soaked. Oh dear, we ordinary people are in such a dire situation, so miserable.
This area is Yongding River. All the sweet potatoes planted here, they've all been submerged. Sir, how many acres of land in total?
Over 200 acres.
How much money was invested in total for over 200 acres?
Over 1 million yuan.
Officials, if you don't care the ordinary people, what use are you? What about you, officials from Zhuozhou City, the secretary and mayor? What about you? Look at this chicken. There were 40,000 of them raised in total. Now there's only this one left, the strongest one.
On August 5th, we weren't allowed to come back to the village. I was really worried about these pigs, so I came back. At that time, the water was above knee-high. We waded back. Our family of 6, young and old, relied on these pigs for our expenses and livelihood. We depended on these pigs for everything. There were nearly 200 pigs, big and small. When I came back, not a single pig was visible. Seeing the pigsty, the windows, and the large holes they had dug, I knew how desperate and miserable they were.
My hard-earned small shop that was soaked in floodwaters for a week, I'm here now. Look how miserable it is. Look inside the house. How tragic.
This is the old part of Gaobedian City. My home, a flood. My factory, my home, all rolled back decades. My hard-earned home, completely gone. This is my factory. This is a lifetime of savings. A flood, no home, no factory. Everything is gone.
Over here, our staff has cleared a path, a walkable path. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to step into the storage area. The water outside has receded, but the stench is overwhelming.
Yao Yu, a former senior media figure in Beijing, revealed that a retired director from the National Development and Reform Commission had mentioned that many central government units, including major state-owned enterprises, had already settled in Zhuozhou. The CCP's decision to divert floodwaters from Zhuozhou, with an elevation of 19.8 meters to 69.4 meters, to Xiong'an, with an elevation of 7 meters to 19 meters, not only resulted in losses for rural areas and agriculture, but also hit Zhuozhou's high-tech enterprises hard. The Petroleum Geophysical Research Institute alone lost no less than 10 billion yuan. According to the Epoch Times, an informed source stated that the significant loss in the Zhuozhou Economic Development Zone was borne by China Shipbuilding Heavy Industry Group, a military enterprise responsible for manufacturing aircraft carriers. One of its residential projects suffered losses of around 200 million yuan. On August 11th, the Hebei provincial government publicly announced that the flood disaster had affected 388,860 people in 110 counties, with a direct economic loss of 95.811 billion yuan, $12.95 billion. The average loss per county was 870 million yuan, $117.6 million. On August 13th, 13 counties including Zhuozhou, Bazhou, and Dingxing received a total of 1.19 billion yuan, $161 million, in compensation from the government, with an average of only 92 million yuan, $12.4 million, per county. Rumors circulated that Hebei authorities provided flood victims with 3 meals of plain porridge a day.
This is a resettlement place for disaster-affected residents, mostly elderly people and those with mobility difficulties. Seeing this scene is truly heart-wrenching.
Look, disaster relief supplies from Hebei, pesticides, take a look, insecticides. Return to green fertilizers for this land, how to restore its vitality.
Media reports, disaster victims have fallen back into poverty overnight. Authorities in Hebei promise compensation, but have yet to visit for damage assessment.
Not a single person is thankful to the government. Zhuozhou issued an announcement saying don't drink this water. You can use it to bathe, do laundry, wash your face. It's simple logic. It's definitely contaminated, 100% contaminated.
After the flood disaster, some business owners in Zhuozhou revealed that they not only received no assistance but were also forced to pay more fees than before. This starkly illustrates man is the knife, I am the fish. A business owner from Zhuozhou shared a screenshot online on August 13th, revealing that their factory still lacked water and electricity, filled with mud, and surrounded by bodies outside. However, authorities had begun to urge the payment of electricity bills, and various taxes and fees must be paid as usual by August 15th. The funds for repairing public infrastructure in the industrial zone were also charged to businesses. Local netizens disclosed their own villages' situations. Air conditioners worth 10,000 yuan are compensated at 800. Does a piece of land cost 480 yuan in Zhuangzhou? I heard a piece of land costs 9 yuan. Didn't a house collapse a few days ago and was compensated with 200 yuan? According to a purported document from Baoding, the government is compensating 20,000 yuan, $2,700, for each life lost and 40,000 yuan, $5,400, for each collapsed house. In addition, on August 16th, the CCP's central bank decided to provide credit support to disaster victims through further lending, triggering widespread criticism. Netizens heavily criticized the CCP for profiting from disasters. People in Dingxing County demanding compensation for post-disaster losses were suppressed by police. People in Bazhou passionately debated with officials, shedding tears as they spoke.
Every household has been torn apart. Where is there no trouble?
People displayed banners reading "Give back our homes" in front of government buildings.
No home left.
I spent a night on a hospital bench.
A villager knelt in the street to block a government official's vehicle.
Come down! Come down! Get off the car!
A female official in Zhuozhou defended the CCP and was angrily dragged into the water by disaster victims.
Has the government deprived you of a meal? Has the government said it won't provide subsidies for you anymore?
Drag her into the water! Throw her in!
The entrance of Beijing and Hebei was heavily guarded by police.
Bold and imposing, this posture should be used to defend the territory against aggression, against those pseudo-experts, against those who harm the nation and its people. In front of you are a group of powerless ordinary people, disaster victims.
While the floods are fierce, they are still overshadowed by the CCP's ferocious governance. As the floods recede, Chinese people are increasingly seeing the true nature of the CCP regime. A netizen wrote, "The source of suffering lies with the CCP. Without overthrowing the CCP, disaster will always be waiting for you. The tsunami is approaching, be prepared." Disaster victims are forced to sleep on the streets.
Someone sent me a video, and in that video, there's a passage that I think is really good. The existence of a country is not to dominate the world, but to let all citizens live with dignity. The existence of the police is not to control the people, but to prevent and stop the occurrence of crimes. The existence of education is not to indoctrinate and enslave students, but to let free thinking create a better future. The existence of hospitals is not for profit, but to reduce the suffering of patients and extend their lives.
The Chinese people are waking up, as expressed in the words of poet Wuchang's poem A Generation. "The dark night gave me black eyes, but I used them to search for light."